But then, man, was this the first show you're doing with just headphones? It's happening now.
No, we used to play with in-ear monitors before.
We used to play like that, played like that. But you had an amp on stage.
But there was an amp on stage, exactly. So you had that ooh sound going on behind you, right?
The wind, as they call it, right?
Wind.
But it's funny, man, because this year, in 2024, the most controversial topic on Starling Cast was the lack of guitar amps on stage.
And do people miss it?
Man, what happened? We see 2 or 3 types of guitarists here. The guy who has already gotten used to it, who sometimes even prefers it.
I think there's also the generation that was practically born in this era, already with plugins and home computers.
There's that crowd. But there's also a group that says, oh, man, I play, but I prefer the amp. But there's that crowd that hates it and would never play if they could avoid it. And, you know, I don't like headphones, brother. My tracks. I even record with headphones in the studio because I understand the result will be better. But I also prefer it.
But I think it also depends on the genre, right, man? Because you play more of a jazz vibe. It's not an absurd volume, and the dynamics are much greater. So I think I can imagine that it's much more enjoyable to play listening to the dynamics directly from the amplifier and not that thing that's converted in the ear, you know. That goes to the ear, and I believe you can play completely without anything, just a monitor on the floor there, no problem, and it doesn't get muddled. Now, for a sound like we do, you need to have headphones. And I'm not missing the amplifier, honestly. Because if the headphones are well adjusted and the sound is good, the amplifier just generates, say, wasn't while us on stage there, it just made everything muddled. And it was Juninho on one side, me on the other, Duca 2, and the drummer there rocking out. The stage was very loud.
So now with the headphones, can you really feel like you're in paradise with the headphones like that? Like really immersed, listening to my guitar. It sounds beautiful.
The only thing, I feel like is that, no, the sound is good. I'm enjoying it. The only thing, for example, at the end of the show, we do a shred, right? So, and then when I go to play, since most of the show I'm playing rhythm, I'm relaxed, you know? So if I'm hearing myself or not, who cares, you know? Sometimes it happens that the guitar is a bit buried, but I make a point not to turn it up here so I don't go deaf, because we go all out. It's 2 hours of exposure to sound directly in the ear, right? You have to be careful with that. So I try to keep it low like this. Sometimes I turn it up a little when needed. Sometimes I ask the guy to turn up my guitar a bit, but I like to hear everyone well, you know? So it ends up being a kind of flat mix, right? I'm not like standing out in the mix. But when you're going to solo or do a part of the song, then I have to ask the guy to raise it a tiny bit, just a hair, for my guitar. I was tempted to take it out here to listen to more of the ambient sound, but it doesn't work with the mess, so I put it back. It will have to be like this, because even though the sound is direct here, it's a smaller sound, right, man?
It's not that sound with richness, right?
That richness is basically the reflection, right, man, from an environment that doesn't have this sound. My guitar comes directly. It's DI, man, you know. There's no ambiance. Now, when we play an amplifier here, the sound is wonderful. Depending, of course, on the room, the type of reflection the room has. But it tends to be more enjoyable because it's completely natural. And it's an immersive experience because you hear the reflection coming from everywhere, coming from the amplifier. So you don't have that in your ear, but the reality, I think, has materialized. The big events are basically always playing on stage. I think that improves the quality of everything, frankly speaking, because today anyone who has a pedal with good sound quality can get a good sound. But in the past, man, whoever had access to a Fender, a Deluxe, an expensive, decent amplifier, I didn't have one. Before playing with G3, I didn't have a nice amplifier. I had a piece of junk, a really bad transistor. Not that a transistor is essentially junk, but a good one like, I don't know, one from Holland, you know, which I forgot the name, J something, JC, yeah, which isn't great for metal, but jazz guys use it. It has a nice quality. It has a
Jazz chorus, what you mean?
jazz chorus, and that's it.
AC said Jesus Christ. Jazz chorus. Man, yeah, I hate jazz chorus, man.
No, I used to hate it.
The guy is into jazz, I said. Not me.
When I started accompanying G3, sometimes the sound companies in some more distant places, like from Sao Paulo, only had jazz chorus. So I played after the war with jazz chorus. Sometimes.
The guy always thinks like this, man. There's a jazz chorus there, and you don't do that, man. The guy thinks he's giving you that moment of joy, right?
But man, I think this really helped me develop my ear regarding amplifier tone, because for quite a few years with G3, we played with what was available, with what the local sound company had to offer. And many times there was a tube that wasn't working well, but the amplifier was still producing sound. Or sometimes the microphone was a fake SM57, so you don't see it. But if you're doing this so frequently, you start to hear these things. So often I was playing. I had in-ear monitors, and I was hearing my guitar and thinking there's something wrong, there's something wrong, there's something wrong during the sound check. Then the technician would go up on stage to take a look. And yeah, man, there's a tube here that's not working. And then, depending on whether it was the preamp or something else, we'd find an alternative. If there was a counterfeit, we'd get another one.
The fake M57.
Yeah, wow.
Wow. Seriously, man.
Yeah, man. I've seen a lot of them on Mercado Libre. Back in the day, they sold a lot, and they were fake too.
What I have an SM57 at home, and it always was. You see how things have changed, right, man? Our currency is so devalued, but it was always a cheap microphone, man. It was $100 microphone.
Yeah, it's because back then there weren't so many Chinese options. I mean, there weren't many fakes and such, but there were already some, this was more than 10 years ago, right?
I can't count about 157,000 reais today.
$100.
$100, right?
Arrives, how expensive, right?
Yeah. But man, when I bought mine, it was so cheap.
Yeah. I had several because I was kind of not really obsessed, but I liked them. So I had various types of SM57, not fake ones. I'm talking about other brands, because I recorded a lot in the studio too, my own stuff, my band stuff for other artists, small productions. So I always wanted to have some options. I tested everything, recorded at home too.
Look, taking a quick look here. 1,300? 1,300 reais. What a beautiful thing. I don't know. $100 gets it to you here? No. More, no less than 1,300 reais. I was just talking to Torquato. He sent me a video, him playing a John Cruz, a guitar worth 150,000 reais.
Is it a Fender John Cruz or John Cruz there? Because he launched his own brand, right?
The brand itself, 50,000 reais for the guitar, 50,000 reais for the guitar. And I said, Torquato, what do you think is the fair price for this guitar? He said, no, that's fair. I said, well, but then we were talking. And I said, man, a guitar like this costs about $10,000 there. Like for an American, it's money, okay? It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. But it's like, oh, for us here, 30 grand. Man, 30 grand is money. Brother, it's a lot of money. But still, you can buy, a 30 grand guitar. But 150,000, brother, what musician is going to buy a 150,000 guitar? They won't.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I bought the guitars for this tour there, which are some good guitars. An American professional from Fender, a Tele, because I've always liked Tele a lot. And Duesenberg.
Yeah, he said you were in Germany and didn't buy one of those, right?
Yeah, I bought it just for fun, because I wanted to bring a German guitar.
You show up and say, you have to buy one of these, otherwise I can't play. I can't do the tour. It's an investment.
But I also didn't want to bring the other ones I have that are expensive, They're not a fortune, but they are guitars, for example, that gold top that people wanted me to bring a Gibson. Man, the headstock breaks easily, So for the Strada, I said, never mind. I'll get these other ones to,
How much did you pay for a Duesenberg like that?
is it $2,000? It's used, starts at 2,000. But I bought it used, so it wasn't that price. I found it. It was a find, a great find.
And I remember when you were coming here, man, I saw the video and you took the guitars apart, removed the neck, and I thought I wouldn't have the guts to do something like that.
It was the best thing I did, man, because like I wouldn't have been able to, I would have had to buy a seat to carry the guitars on the, like an extra seat on the flight to take the guitars, because there are two, right? And it's a big bag. And on international flights, I don't know if this has changed, but in the past we could take them on board, but now they didn't give that option. So to avoid any surprises, I thought, Juninho gave me this tip and said, man, take them apart. I think he does this. He said, sometimes I do this, take them apart, put them in the suitcase. Then it's easy. You don't have to carry anything on board with you. And then you check it in.
Assembled, everything was 100% the same.
Perfect, man. Perfect. I had never done this, man. But it works, man.
I need to get rid of these traumas and paranoias in my life. Take apart the guitar one day to be able to overcome this.
Man, I hate changing guitar strings. I hate it.
Me too.
I hate it with a passion. But it's the only extra thing you have to do, right? Because then you take the opportunity to change the strings, right?
Well, make an adjustment, Kai.
Did nothing.
Just screwed it back in.
Just screwed it in and saw that it works. But man, I'm kind of clumsy. I'm clumsy. I'm not one of those who take the perfect guitar and make it super perfect. I'm clumsy. I don't know why on earth.
You didn't screw it back in, did you? Didn't throw in the shot?
Nothing. But the guitars are good, man. And they were already tuned before I went.
I see.
I tuned them. I made that adjustment. But after I assembled it, it worked. That was it. I also don't use very low strings because I think it loses sound, loses sustain, everything. So the way it was, it stayed okay.